late. So I was watching the White Lotus with my wife, and it's like 10 o'clock, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't watched yet. And I was just like, I've got to get on it. And I was like, I wanted to watch the cage match so bad, or normally I would have just watched that and skipped the entire show.
Yeah.
But I went back to the beginning, but I was able to watch it in like an hour and fast forwarded through a lot, but I also watched quite a bit. And coming back to it late and being on Netflix is so easy to just sift through it. Like, I love it.
It's amazing. It's way better. Same deal for me. I was watching it like passively. I was finishing The Office, so it's so close to being done. I just have to vacuum pretty much. And I had it on in the background. So I heard the entire episode, and then I rewatched it earlier today. And I don't even know where to start. So I have notes on various things.
Why don't we start with next week's Raw is airing at 3 p.m. for me and noon for you.
Yeah, that's Netflix, though. I think I don't know. What would they have done in Belgium otherwise? They would just pre-tape it and then air it live, I guess, is what they would have normally done.
I guess. I mean, It doesn't bother me. I might see if I can't squeeze it in at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah. I mean, it's same. It's not like a big issue now that it's on Netflix. I still watch it. I'll probably watch it at the same time I always watch it. It won't make any difference to me. I don't want to watch it live now. I used to want to watch it live.
Me neither.
I'm like, no way. I have to skip through all these ads.
I don't mind seeing like the Punk and Roman segments live if I can somehow manage it, but it's not worth it to find those. They're not scheduled. They're like, Roman Reigns opens the show, then like, I'll watch it live.
Yeah, I mean, that's about the only time is when you know ahead of things. I have a couple of quick notes of things we're probably not going to talk about.
Let's hear it.
But like the Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley thing, I kind of like that they know what we're thinking, that Io Sky is like the third wheel in this match. Like,
I actually watched some of that.
Rhea is pushing away Io and Bianca is pushing away Io. I don't know. I think that's kind of an interesting way to actually help legitimize her in this match as someone that's going to get angry that she's being so underestimated. And it's clearly going in the direction of a triple threat. And I also wouldn't be surprised if the title changed hands before WrestleMania again between those three somewhere.
I mean, I just don't get it at all.
Why
it looked like there was a fan in the middle of two wrestlers. It was ridiculous. It was like The Undertaker and Kane standing off for a world title match, and Jerry Lynn is there. It's just like, what is this?
Man.
And
Jerry Lynn is awesome.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying size-wise.
Yeah, I know.
I just don't. It's just made no sense to me, and I don't get her character like at all. Like Bianca, I get. Rhea, I get. It's a big match, exciting. Whatever they're gonna do a triple threat, but like I don't understand why she's involved. It's WrestleMania. It's not just a regular PLE, and it was weird. And then the segment ends with her slapping both of them, but neither of them do anything about it, and then they don't fight each other either. So they're there. They're just like, as if they're just going to tear each other's heads off. She slaps them both in the face. They just accept it. And then they just stand there being like, well, we were slapped and now let's stare at each other. It just felt so AEW. I did not like that segment.
The segment was awkward. I think that's a good word for it. It was an awkward segment. But I also think they know what we're all thinking in a way. That we're all thinking, why is Io Sky involved in this? And that's why I guess that's why Bianca and Rhea are doing the push away to Io and trying to, I guess, build her in a way, pushing her down to build her, if that makes any sense at all.
I hear what you're saying, yeah. But to do that, you got to kind of like care about a character. What I'm thinking, which they don't know, is that Rhea should have the title so long she breaks Fabulous Moolah's, like whatever that was, 20-year record. Because Rhea's the only good, like the only like superstar.
Yeah.
Everybody else, they're great, but she's the only superstar female performer, in my opinion, on the entire roster.
Fabulous Moolah, also a great legend, a good friend of our podcast sponsor, Mae Young.
Very controversial past, though, if you've watched Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah. Actually, we have no association whatsoever to Fabulous Moolah. Just want to put that out there. Another thing I want to know...
We have a lot of association with Mae Young, though.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
totally. Yeah, let's go, Mae. Okay, another thing. This Jey Uso... The Alpha Babes, what the hell is going on there?
What do you mean? I watched the Uso Waller match, but what happened with the Alpha Babes?
So the backstage segment.
I must have missed it. I skipped it.
Segment. Jay's like icing his head. The Alpha Babes come in and say, "Hey man, we got your back." But like they're trying to elevate Jay. This is what they're doing. They're pushing Jay to the main event with Gunther. And they keep bringing in the Alpha Babes, who are so low on the card. And I understand the concept of trying to use someone to elevate other people, but they're trying to elevate Jay right now. They're not trying to elevate the Alpha Babes. So
well, they are, obviously.
Why are they in this segment? Because having them in this segment so low, they're so low down on the card, it brings Jay down. It makes me less interested in Jay. It makes me think, oh, Jay's associating with these jobbers. This is like when Steve Austin was feuding with Spike Dudley. Do you remember that? No, nobody remembers that. It was terrible. And it was all about how he treated Molly Holly back in the day. And I think it actually did a disservice to Steve Austin's career. And actually, that was kind of before the Vince McMahon handshake. Or sorry, after the Vince McMahon handshake. After. That was, a little, his career started going down, and those things didn't help.
It completely derailed his career and the entire future of the wrestling. It was the worst heel turn in history. Yeah, I do remember the Spike Dudley feud, though, and I actually kind of liked it, but I get your point.
Yeah.
I remember watching that thinking Spike might beat him. It was like a title match on SmackDown.
To be honest, Spike is at a much higher level than the Alpha Babes are.
Agreed. And then he went from Spike to Taz and had a feud with Taz as well.
Yeah. So I don't know why they're doing this. I think they need to cut this Alpha Babe stuff out, but now they're in too deep. They can't do it. They can't cut it out.
Hashtag Alpha Babe hate.
I think that he should beat them down. That's what I think.
Jay? He would never do that.
I know. But like, come on. It's just, what are they going to do with this? Where's this going to go? Are the Alpha Babes turning heel? Are we going to become interested in them?
Well, they weren't involved in the match, which we'll get to. Sorry. So what other small things do you have?
Chad Gable doing the Lucha gimmick thing, or Chad Gable doing the Lucha gimmick thing?
No, it wasn't Chad. Chad was being interviewed when they hauled the person away. Chad would never do that. He's an American hero.
Is this a Mr. America situation we have going on right now? Or is this, or maybe that was Rey Fenix, not obviously in the ring, but backstage, maybe that was Rey Fenix, and he had that mask on and they I don't know how they would have arrested the wrong person or got them switched out. Maybe we'll figure out that story back.
So why do they do things like, I don't understand. So you talk about the Alpha Babes and then like associating them with Jey Uso, but I don't understand why they don't book Chad Gable seriously. Like, why does he keep being involved in this craziness? And like, we'll talk I did watch a bit of the Dragon Lee Mysterio match, and like Dragon Lee is very cool. But I just don't understand. Like, Chad Gable is an amazing wrestler, and I feel like he's come around so much in his promos and everything, and he just keeps getting stuck in this nonsense. And it's like, what are they're trying to elevate Dragon Lee by involving him with Gable? Like, the whole thing is quite strange. And I feel the opposite of what the Alpha Babes want. I'm just like, I want Chad Gable to get booked in like a serious feud and seriously contend for something.
When someone's on like a lower mid-carder for so long, because he's been like a lower mid-carder for a long time, it just seems like it's almost impossible to push them higher. Like, I can't, off the top of my head, think of an example of someone that was in one organization for such a long time in a position that suddenly changed positions to be higher on the card.
Kofi Kingston, a very strange, out of nowhere title run that went to WrestleMania. That I was just like, what?
It didn't last. It didn't, like, you can do stuff like that. You can say, yeah, okay, they pushed them, they won the title, they won the heavyweight championship. But it's not like, then they won the heavyweight championship again and again. They were in the main event scene for 10 years. No, they won the main event, they won the championship, and then they're back down on the card. Where's Kofi now? He's doing, mid-card stuff, tag team stuff. He's not in the main event anymore. So, like, I don't even know what they would do with Chad Gable, like Kurt Angle 2.0.
Yeah, maybe as a starter.
But
I think they were doing it great when he had his stable. And like Otis was doing things for him, and he was being like a dick and wanting to get what he deserved, and he was treating them all terribly. And then all of a sudden he got destroyed by the Wyatt Six, and then they never went back to it. Anyway, I've made my piece about Chad Gable.
Fair enough. Well, we'll see what happens with Chad Gable, because it looks like he's going to be feuding with one of the luchadors for this luchador storyline that we're seeing. And I'm curious to see who's behind that mask. If it is going to be Chad, or who they're going to introduce.
I saw Chad while the others. you watching the same show as me?
Wait, totally. We're watching the. Sorry, I'm pulling a total Kathy Kelly there. Yeah, all right. Also, as much as we don't like it, I think we talked about this before. It looks like they're pushing tension in the Judgment Day. Not super interesting where that goes, but Dominic getting Finn the Braun match is kind of interesting. At least it's going to be on Raw, I think.
No, thank God it's not WrestleMania. Braun better have a better opponent. Imagine, like, just think about that right now. Just to quickly think about that. If they're booking Braun as a babyface, imagine Braun and Gunther were fighting in the main event of WrestleMania. Two guys that they've just built up. I mean, what a match! What a story that could be. But instead, Gunther is fighting Jey Uso and Braun is feuding with Finn, and it's just like, why?
It seems like they are against having two titles involved in the same match as well. You know, like looking back at WrestleMania 6, the Intercontinental Champion facing the Heavyweight Champion. But I would kind of like to see more of that. Imagine the Intercontinental Champion taking on the Gunther, the World Heavyweight Champion.
Well, they do that one show now, Crown Jewel, where the champions from each show face each other, even though Roman's on SmackDown and he's on Raw, and Cody's on SmackDown and he's on Raw, and everybody goes everywhere. They have separate champions when it's convenient too.
Yeah, but like not at the different title levels. That's like kind of like a direct, you know.
I see. Yeah. You're saying Intercontinental versus You hold the Intercontinental title so long that you win a world title match. You never lose it. Like, and then why did Gunther have to drop it to Sammy?
Yeah, then you vacate the title, and I think that's a good way of doing it, a good way of elevating people. Because even if you look at combat sports, there's champions of different weight classes, and then they might vacate the belt for another weight class that they're no longer fighting in. Why can't we do that? And I love tournaments, so I wouldn't mind seeing the Intercontinental tournament every once in a while.
Tournaments can be okay, but I think there's so many titles that they've basically lost their meaning. And there's so many tournaments, and I can't stand when the tournaments are spread out over such a long period of time. If we are going to have a number one contenders for the secondary tag team titles over the next 6 SmackDowns, it'd be like, I don't even know that this is on.
I used to like the one tournament a year that happened on one night.
KOTR, baby.
Yeah, like that was, when I was a kid, man, that was the ultimate. I loved watching
0-1.
It's huge, man. Yeah, it was huge. Even the first one with Brett, the first pay-per-view one with Brett was awesome. Then they had
and there'd be like one or two aside matches, like maybe a tag title and a world title match would be worked in there too. Yeah,
and it was cool the story they told through that. You know, the wrestler getting a little injured in the first match and then carrying on, or legitimately busting their lip open in one of the matches and then cutting the greatest promo of all time.
The Ultimate Tournament was who cut the Austin? Yes, of course. The greatest tournament was WrestleMania 4. When they did the tournament for the world title on the same night, and Hogan and Andre had the double disqualification, and it led to DiBiase Savage in the finals. And DiBiase got a bye in the round before.
Right. Yeah.
That was great. That was great stuff.
It was a good tournament. I think I've watched that one probably at least like 20 times on my old WrestleMania 4 VHS.
By the way, I apologize to everybody for constantly taking drinks. I just am so parched, and I think I have a bit of a sore throat.
Enough. We have Cody's promo. I think the whole point of Cody's promo was
you're jumping all over the place here right now. So are these still the things that you think we're not going to talk about in the major segments, or have we now entered into the major segments?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe. Okay, those are the only things I don't think we're going to talk about. All right. So what do you want to talk about?
Okay, Cody. Well, whatever you want. I'm just checking to see, like, we can talk about Cody. We don't have to go in order this week. Yeah, I actually just watched Cody before we started recording. I skipped it because, like I said, when I was watching it originally, I just didn't have time for a Cody. I fast forward to see if someone was going to come out, and like if Cena or Rock or somebody was there when they did, and I just kept going.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it. Before we even talk about Cody, can we talk about just like how stupid this whole Travis Scott thing is a little bit more? And the fact that he actually, you called it, like, yeah, it was actually a shoot slap. And he busted his eardrum for real. And just like, who let this clown in there? Because The Rock said to him, you make it count backstage. Like, we could do a whole hour on how out of control Dwayne Johnson's ego is. But like, bursting your eardrum is supposedly just absolutely terrible. And like, I hate Travis Scott. I love the Cena heel turn, but Travis Scott's involvement was like a 1% negative. And it's not, I like to hate him. It's not like, ooh, what a heel. Like, it's go away heat. Like, stop it. Stop talking about him. Move on from it. I don't want him part of this stupid entourage.
Yeah. And so I'm just looking up how long it takes to heal a burst eardrum. And it could be like a few weeks to a couple of months. And we're 40 days away from WrestleMania.
Can he wrestle with one?
They're gonna make him, or he's
I
gonna
don't know
make
about
him.
that.
So.
I mean, obviously he'd wrestle at Mania, but I think like not leading up to that. I mean,
Oh, he won't wrestle leading up to that. I don't think. I think
maybe not.
His next match might be WrestleMania. But so there's a little bit of a delay there for him. I don't know what that does to his ring performance. Obviously, he's a great worker and everything, but maybe you want to get a few reps in before WrestleMania. And then also just eardrum stuff like balance. How does that affect him, right? I mean, if we see him miss something or slip somewhere in the WrestleMania event, we can all blame Travis Scott for this.
Yeah, agreed. Travis Scott better not be there. Did you see he dropped the F-bomb again?
Did he drop the
F-bomb?
F-bomb?
Well, they beeped it out, and it certainly seemed like it. Called him an effing moron.
I thought it was goddamn moron, but I could be wrong.
Okay, maybe it was. I just watched it from my phone right before watching this, but I interpreted it as another F-bomb. Maybe I was wrong.
Maybe. It's interesting that I think because I didn't watch Elimination Chamber live. They, even in the post hours of that show, they didn't, or the few days after it aired, they didn't bleep the F-bomb.
Yeah, I know.
It might still not be bleeped, but they bleep that on Raw. I wonder if there's like a difference in paid live events on what they censor versus Raw. And I wonder if it's not a Netflix thing. Like maybe who does the bleeping, right? Does the bleeping happen in the production truck outside? Because Raw is still being aired in the United States.
No, the bleeping is done by the network.
The network bleeps? The network bleeps.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they have the company, or like I'm sure WWE has the ability to bleep, but I feel most of the bleeps we've heard in history is by the network because they have like a 10-second delay or whatever.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. All right.
I love the "I'm the Captain Now" line to end it. That's in that Captain Phillips movie with Tom Hanks, right? That was Cody's "I'm the Captain Now." And listen, I thought about it a bit more, and then we can move on because Cena's not there, and he'll be there next week in Brussels and whatever. They'll pick things up. I don't know that this is a SmackDown feud or Raw feud. How often Cena's going to be there? Where's The Rock? When's he coming back? I find it highly unlikely he's in Brussels, so whatever. Like, Cena hasn't won a match in 5 years, and like that's the reason that he's turned. I'm sure we'll find out, and like he did what he needed to do to cement his legacy. Like, it all makes sense, but I really hope this isn't just Cody shows up on every Raw and every SmackDown and cuts a promo, and Cena and Rock are basically never there. Because like if that's the case, then like, just don't do the feud, because like we're also here to watch the build up to it, not just this one match. And someone's got to get The Rock in order.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the whole point of this promo was to promote John Cena next week on Raw. That's why I think they put Cody out there. And then I guess to also just have another star on the show. But I agree. I hope that this isn't the case. I hope that it's not just Cena shows up 2 or 3 times or 2 times before WrestleMania and then they wind up having a match.
And why is the SmackDown title feud on Raw? I'm still trying to sort that out. Cena's returning, even though he's feuding with the SmackDown champion.
Yeah, I don't understand why they have this split if they don't respect it.
We can't. I bring that up every week, so we can't keep talking.
We can't talk about it. But I guess that they're just trying to get Cody on all the shows. This is their main program that they're trying to build. So I understand like the business logic in having him there. But you're right. If it's just Cody building this feud every week, people are going to lose interest fast.
Yeah, it's not like Stone Cold making his return to fight Kevin Owens. So let's get into some other stuff here. Did you watch Waller versus Uso? Waller, apparently the former MMA fighter, which means he can probably kick half of the locker room's ass, even though he portrays a huge wuss.
Yeah, I didn't really watch it. No,
I watched some of it. It was okay. Like, I mean, honestly, like Jay is really not a very good wrestler. Like, he's got a very good gimmick, but like everything that he does looks so cooperative. His spears are so soft. And there was a point where he got caught on like a suicide dive. Like, he was like going for the suicide dive out the ring, but like Waller caught him and did whatever move back to him into the ring. Jay completely stops his momentum and like allows Waller to get him to do that move. It wasn't like a seamless, just like into it. He's not a good wrestler. That's a lot of, like, I know how over he is, but he's a gimmick man. The gimmick is super over. Everybody loves it. His gimmick is not done yeet, as Pat McAfee said, or he's not done yeet. But I mean, his spear on Theory did look better, and I think they shot it at a different angle, maybe because they realized the first spear on Waller looked so bad. But I mean, Jay's matches suck, and he's in the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah, and they're putting them out there with one of their best workers too.
And he's associated with Alpha Babes.
Don't get me
Speaking
started
of one of their best workers too, Gunther, out of nowhere, he looks so good. He's dressed so nicely. I like his boots too. And he was finally wearing socks. I can't stand no socks with dress shoes.
Maybe he's wearing ankle socks with dress shoes. Who wears no socks? I mean, your feet get all sweaty.
Oh, sure, or even ankle socks. But like, honestly, like I've been all over. Like, I hated this at first, and then I got into it a bit. But like, I feel like this feud is losing momentum. It's just every week, one of the two of them has a match.
Yeah.
And then the other person interferes.
It's
either Gunther sneak attacks him, or Gunther sneak attacks whoever he was wrestling, and then Jay comes to the rescue. And it's just like, what is the the original substance was Jay can't beat him, and then he won the Rumble, and instead of picking Cody, he picked him because he wants to overcome it. It's like, okay. And now it's just been this like weird stuff. The only thing carrying this feud is Gunther's mic work and Jay's entrance. It's odd, man. It's really odd. I think they made a pretty big mistake. You'll have a very big entrance at Mania, I'm sure, but I mean, I think they made a mistake. I don't think it's going to be a good match.
Yeah, it's very repetitive week in, week out, this formula that they're following. Next week is Gunther wrestling. Do we know that?
No, next week it's Jay versus Austin Theory, so it'll be the same thing.
Okay, yeah. They're skipping Gunther.
Gunther will get involved.
Yeah.
Gunther might get cheered. They'll be overseas.
Oh, true. Interesting. I wonder how they're going to progress this further, because this has to be the last, I guess, sequence that they do of this, have a match, someone attacks after the match thing.
There's so much time left. Mania is until April 19th and 20th.
What are they going to do?
I know.
Talk about build. Like, I was complaining about, like, no build for certain matches before, and now they're...
it's an overbuild.
It's an overbuild.
It's an overbuild.
Give the guys a week off. Think of something creative to do with them.
I think a week off would be deserved in this feud too. What about Logan Paul? Did you watch his promo?
Yeah, I did. I did. I listened to it, and then when I was rewatching today, I skipped over it. But
I specifically watched it with the intent of being like, was he better on the mic than we gave him credit for? And like, it does feel like his lines are rehearsed. But then I kind of realized that like almost everybody's are. There's very few people that are like Punk and McIntyre and I guess even Roman to a certain extent. Even Seth's lines feel rehearsed.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people that do, and the crowd was really loudly booing him. Like he was getting a lot of heat.
Yeah, I guess sometimes maybe we're too critical on his promo skills. Maybe our expectations are super high because he is such a public figure, and we, I guess, expect more from public figures in terms of speaking ability. But he is still new to the wrestling business.
Ish,
yeah.
I mean, it's also like he was also brought up The Rock, which was interesting considering their history. Like, are you familiar with their history?
The Rock snubbed him.
Google it if you guys don't know. Well, he was posted those crazy videos of the suicide forest or whatever, and then The Rock disassociated him from it. I'm like, everyone's all of a sudden talking about The Rock, which he must love, but I don't know that he like necessarily approved that.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I thought... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and then... if you're going to say more about the promo, I think you should go.
Well, yeah. No, I was going to say, I thought, too, that this comedian guy, Andrew Schultz, was pretty fun on the mic. I've seen a lot of, like, thumbnails of him on YouTube videos, whatever, he's on Rogan or whatever. I'm like, who is this clown? Like, I'm not interested. Now I like him. I thought I'll watch them moving forward because I thought he was really good on the mic. I thought he was super cool. And I thought like his just involvement was cool. He took a little bump, came over. He said all the right things. He waited and then AJ came in. He stayed there and watched the rest of the show. He was cool. But let me ask you a question because I know I'm super critical about like the psychology of all this. So Logan Paul is getting set to do this devastating move to Andrew Schultz in the ring. And then AJ's music hits. And so then Logan Paul just stands there and like 10 seconds goes by. And then he drops Schultz and like another 10 goes by. And then he fights with AJ. If he wanted to commit this dastardly act, then why not just do it? It's like if you're going to kill somebody and you got a gun to their head and you hear a police siren down the street, if your plan is to kill them, you kill them and then you run out the back door and escape. You don't just stop. So I don't know. Maybe that was a terrible comparison. But like it was really took me out of it. I'm just like, hit the move. You've got all the time you could possibly need. Why is the music stopping you?
Well, I think I'm going to try and go from the other perspective of things. Imagine you're in like a fight with somebody and you have the upper hand. And at this point, they're at your mercy. But their friend is coming and you see their friend running down the block. You don't really know how fast they're running, how quickly they're going to get there. So maybe you're putting, this person isn't a threat anymore. I've taken care of this person. So you put that aside and you get yourself ready to take on the incoming threat. Maybe that's how they're doing it. I see both sides. I see the perspective.
If you're in regular fights all the time, I think that what you're saying applies to those of us that don't fight. But if you're always fighting people, somewhere in between.
Yeah, fair enough. And at the same time, he could have done it to Andrew and gotten out in that time as well, if he didn't want to fight AJ.
Yeah, but I certainly get your point. And then AJ came out and a series of just quick moves, and then Logan got out of there before much could really happen. So they seem to be pushing this, and that's fine. I like it. I don't really know how this all started, why Logan Paul was calling out AJ Styles, but whatever. Now it certainly seems like they're giving us more, but they're not fighting next week on Raw. So does that mean they're headed towards Mania? It's so hard to tell anymore because they're like, is this just a 2-week feud or is this a build to Mania feud?
Yeah, and I don't mind not knowing. I like the suspense. I don't want to know if it's a Mania feud or if it's a Raw feud. I'd be happy. I think I'd be happy either way. Like if it was a Raw feud in a couple of weeks, oh man, that's great. We get a really cool match on Raw. If it's a Mania feud, I think these guys can put on a good match.
Yeah.
Also, I got to give it to Logan Paul. He's a celebrity that's actually showing up like every week on Raw.
He's a signed contract.
I understand that, but I was assuming a signed contract with a few dates a year, but he's been there like consistently on Raw, which is...
I think he recently upped his contract in correlation with in the same time frame as the Netflix change.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that there was something attached there. What did you watch any of New Day and Dragon Lee Mysterio?
Just the end part with Chad Gable. I listened to the entire match though.
I like Dragon Lee. A couple things I noticed. They didn't even give New Day an entrance this time. They were just already in the ring.
Right.
And the audience was so quiet. And I said that before. They've gotten really quiet. I think this gimmick is falling apart. I think their turn is falling apart. If they're going to do something with Big E, they need to get him back soon. Otherwise, these guys are going to fade.
Yeah, it's not looking good for them. And that's a former world champion in that tag team there too.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see? So I don't know what to think about this. The move that Dragon Lee does off the top rope, where he does the 2 feet, kind of like a pencil dive. Like the 2 feet into the guy's chest. So the guy's in the Tree of Woe. And then Dragon Lee jumps off and hits him in the Tree of Woe in the middle of his chest with 2 feet, which looks super cool. But in order to do that, the guy has to be pulling himself up on the ropes to create that, which is just obvious cooperation. So it's just like the move looks cool, but this isn't house show. You can't be doing this obvious cooperation stuff. In my opinion, if you're trying to draw me into something, and it's just it's clear that this is cooperation. And if it's cooperation, then I'm just watching some sort of ballet performance. Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. I didn't see that move, but I know exactly which one you're talking about.
And then Xavier also, he got put through a table and the table didn't break. And then he kind of just it fell off and it didn't break. And then his momentum from the floor, he kind of falls back into it on a ricochet effect. His arm, and then it broke that way. I was just oh my God, that looks so terrible. I'm losing interest in the New Day very fast, but now I'm getting really maybe into a little bit of a luchador phase because Dragon Lee was very cool. And I've always liked Mysterio. And while I haven't been impressed with Penta so far, you like him a lot. And so, like, I continuing to pay a bit more attention to him. But speaking of which, by the way, Penta's wrestling next week. Great. Against who? Ludwig Kaiser again. When is that feud ever going to end?
In a no holds barred match. I don't know, man. And it's in, so is Ludwig Kaiser going to get cheered over in Brussels?
Well, his character, like him and like, where are him and Gunther? Where are they German?
Yeah.
And I'm geographically challenged. What is
Austrian? I can't remember.
I don't know. So we'll have to see. Let's not even talk about it because we don't know what we're talking about. But Dragon Lee's super kick looks way better than Jey Uso's super kick. I'll say that. Also, if this was 1997, nobody else would be doing the super kick other than Shawn Michaels. Another thing that's just weird about the way that they do stuff now.
Yeah, fair enough.
And so other than that, we're pretty far. I've got a lot of notes on it too. I rewatched the ending today. The only thing I have left to talk about, you can talk about whatever you want, is the main event. And I know we got a hard stop today. You got a competing podcast to do in an hour. Jesse's been signed on to do an additional podcast. This one's been so successful.
Yeah, this is one where I did do a biopic on Mae Young's career over the years.
Wow, very cool. Very cool.
Got no subscribers, but yeah. Let's talk about the cage match. This is an interesting one.
Can we start with I'm bringing it back to what I thought Cody said was bleeped. Just like the outrageous amount of swearing that took place. Like
inside the cage?
Inside, even before Punk got in, he was getting so cheered. And he said, "This is my house, mofo." And it got completely caught. So I don't know who's doing the bleeping or whatever. But then, like, later on, Rollins also said, mofo. And, like, I can't figure, some of it's beep, some of it's not beep. They were both giving each other the finger. It was kind of tough to follow from, like, what's happening here from a production-wise perspective.
Why do we care so much about the bleeping? I guess it's just like a technicality thing of who does it, why some things are bleeped and some things aren't bleeped.
I care personally because I watch television for an immersive experience. So if somebody's swearing and it's being bleeped, it's like that person did something they weren't supposed to do, right? But if some get bleeped and some don't, or everybody's doing it, it's just kind of all over the place. And, like, it's interesting because it makes you wonder, like, does creative have control of this? Is, like, the Triple H, they go out there and say a mofo 3-4 different times and keep flipping each other off? Or are these guys doing it because they're trying so desperately to make this feud seem real? Like a blood feud, and then just I'll do and say anything. I hate you so badly.
And just it seems like some talent's given permission to, and some talent isn't.
Guess.
Yeah. Like why doesn't Jay swear at Gunther?
I don't know. Another question for you too. Like, it's been a while since I've been to a WWE event, but they had like a "Let's Go Rollins, CM Punk," and then they also like were doing "Let's Go Cena, Cena Sucks" in response to Cody.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think it's ever just like the same people that just do both? Is someone just like "Let's go Rollins" and then they say CM Punk? Or is it truly like a split crowd?
I think it's probably morphed into people saying both.
I think so too.
But
I think you both.
Originally,
let's just say this is awesome then.
With the Cena one, originally, I think that was actually competing fans, which is kind of cool.
Was that the origin of the dueling chant with Cena?
I think so.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, this match to start was so bad. Just so many punches. Haymakers, as Pat was calling them. Just punch, 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 punch. There was like no moves for like the first 5 minutes of the match.
I thought this match was so good.
I thought the match was great. It got good. The beginning I thought sucked.
Okay. Also, one thing at the beginning, Michael Cole saying, what was it? None of these guys are going for a pin or submission. It's like, it's the beginning of the match. It's like, of course they're not going to go for a pin or submission. Their health bar is still full. What the hell, Michael
Have you
Cole?
never played a video game?
Yeah, come on.
They also Seth did the door open thing and like not walking through it. It was like because they don't care about like winning.
They're trying to sell the fact that it's not that they don't care about winning. It's that they don't want to win like that.
I don't like this door open in the cage thing. This has been going on for so long so that like Andre the Giant or King Kong Bundy could get out. Can we just lock the cage and you have to win by escape because that's what makes it cool? And don't put people in that can't climb. Rikishi could escape a cage. So, like, who do they have that can't escape one? And just don't book them in a cage match.
Well, there's also the whole other camp where cage matches should not have an escape win at all. There's a camp that's pinfall or submission only, and that's from the old school NWA, WCW cage matches.
Well, that was probably made more sense back when there weren't weapon matches all the time.
Yeah.
Now I'm surprised someone doesn't bring a knife with them in their pants and cut through the ring rope and reach down and get a chainsaw. Or the ring mat, sorry.
Yeah, fair enough.
And they black screened, not to go back to the same time, they black screened. They went to a straight black screen when Punk middle fingered. And then when Rollins middle fingered, it didn't go back. I got a lot of comments here about the double middle fingers. What did you think of the drone shot when they were both on the top of the cage?
I like it. There's a lot I like about this match. I actually thought the match was really well done. I have a mixed opinion on like a ton of false finishes, but I have to also adjust my expectations to realize we're in the modern era. And if it was just like a grueling cage match, people would probably be bored. Because I guess you have to think about the live audience and then the audience at home as well. I mean, try getting someone these days to watch one of those hour-long Ric Flair cage matches. They'd probably die of boredom. Sorry, I know that's going to be a hot take, but it's probably
Or just
true.
listen to Ric Flair talk for 5 minutes now and you die of boredom.
Yeah, fair enough. I also, and then, so there's also this thing of spectacles in cage matches where people feel like they have to have a really big spot. AEW had a cage match on Saturday night, and apparently I didn't really watch it, I'll be honest, but it was a wild cage match. I did see the one spot where they did like some weird cooperative flippy thing off the top of this extremely high cage. Now I just have to think about the people in that match and how their bodies must feel the next day. The AEW guys versus WWE guys. Seth and Punk, that was a great cage match, and they're going home and they're probably going to sleep okay and not be too beat up. Those AEW guys, also a great cage match. They're going to go home at night and have a terrible sleep and feel extremely sore the next day.
And be dead when they're 50.
And be dead when they're 50 and take years off their career. And when I looked at the ratings of the match, the user ratings from cagematch.net, where a bunch of wrestling nerds will rate matches, the AEW one got a 9.45. And then the one on Raw got an 8.23. So like a 1 point difference in how much you like a match. And really, what does 1 point really matter at the end of the day?
Nothing.
In 10 years from now, are you going to go back and, you know, if they didn't go all out with that Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher match in AEW, if they didn't go all out and it was just a really good cage match and it got an 8, I think they'd probably feel a lot better than...
These metrics that you're talking about here are AEW fan metric. You know what metrics matter? How many people watch Raw and how many people buy tickets to see the cage match? What was the attendance?
That's my whole point, though, is that the ratings aren't that far apart. So even if it was like
the viewer rating,
Raw
probably draws like 2
hold
million.
On, the user rating is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but who cares about the user rating? It doesn't.
My point cares about the user rating because it doesn't matter. That's what I'm trying to prove. Is that there's only a 1 point difference. So let's say that this website, cagematch.net, is AEW skewed. All the fans are AEW fans. And they wound up giving their company a 9. And then they wound up giving not their company an 8. 1 point difference. The WWE guys are fine. They probably drew a bigger number. They had more people watching it. It was a very entertaining cage match. The AEW guys are probably extremely hurt. They're not going to wrestle for a few weeks, and they probably took years off their career. Why did they need to do that? Cage match doesn't have to be a spectacle.
For that shit. How many stars did Meltzer give it?
I don't care.
That's what they live for. Meltzer gave us 4 3/4. Yeah, the Punk and Rollins 3.5 probably.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I watched the Punk and Rollins match, I guess because I have a commitment to do this as well. But I probably would have watched it regardless. I wouldn't have watched the AEW one.
I won't watch any AEW because I think it's a clown show. Let me ask you a question. What did you think of the superplex on the top of the cage? And before you answer that, I want you to think about this because I went through this. I was like, superplex. But then I went back and I watched it again. Like, Punk was on the top of the cage, but Rollins was on the top rope. And so if you're giving a superplex from the top rope, it's not any different actually than giving it from the top of the cage from the top rope, because you're just starting it with Punk halfway in the air. He's not actually getting any higher. He's only getting as high as your body height can hold. So like it was like an illusionary trick. Where it like seems like he's giving this psycho superplex from the top of the cage, but he's not. He's just giving a regular superplex, which was very cool. I like a superplex.
Yeah.
But it was very, very clever the way that they did that.
Well, I like that they sold the superplex, because if you look a few weeks ago, I was asking, why is the superplex not a devastating move anymore? But you're right. It is kind of an illusion. It's the same move, except that they're coming off of a cage. Maybe a little higher, because when I think most of the time they're doing the superplex from the second rope, right?
No, I think the usually the top rope. It depends. Maybe Matt Hardy does it from the second rope. I don't know.
His legs don't bend. Give him a break. He's an action figure.
Are we at the point in the program where I can finally boast? We're getting towards the end. You said you didn't like or you're getting used to, I guess, in the modern, the kicking out of finishing all the time with all the false finishers. And I agree. And, maybe there needs to be moves that are spared for more often. Like if the GTS and the curb stomp are kicked out in every match, like do they need like a master finisher that they only use like every quarter, something like that in like crazy spots? Yeah. But I do believe in right here on this very program, I called exactly the end of this cage match.
You did. Yes, you did. Yes. Brains interference. Did it go down the way you thought it would go?
I honestly, I can't remember exactly how I predicted it. Sort of. Like when I'll tell you what the way that I wanted it to go was like when he came out and was attacking Rollins, it was like whatever. I was just like, if he doesn't get in the ring and interact with Punk, this sucks. Because like I don't care about Roman and Seth. I'm telling you, Roman and Punk is like, maybe Punk's path to the main event at WrestleMania is set and it's against Roman. Roman Punk on night 1 or 2 of Mania is a show closing match. You can't have Roman and Punk and then do Jay and Gunther. You can't. It doesn't work like that. The whole thing was crazy. And I didn't really care about the interaction with Seth. That was fine, but that set up for what was the main event.
Adam Pearce is extremely slow, by the way. He should have came out sooner.
Yeah, just in time to stop it from on the steel. But that was all strategic, right? Because it was the steel curb stomp that Roman took at the Rumble that forced him out supposedly for so long. So if he had done the same stomp to Seth, then Seth wouldn't have been able to come back and interact in theory in this feud with the two of them, whatever they're doing here. Maybe it's a triple threat. I really hope not. Then he wouldn't have been able to come back. But what did you notice? Like, when did Paul get in the cage? Paul Heyman. When did he come back from? And sorry, also a backtrack. You could hear the crowd going crazy for Roman's return before Roman was on camera.
I thought that was fine. I thought that part was cool. That
they usually do a good job of disguising it, like a hoodie in the crowd and out of nowhere. But where did he come from? Like the aisleway?
I think he came down from the aisleway. I think for the at-home viewer, it's just kind of cool to hear the crowd going wild for something and not know what's going on a little bit. Knew. Well, I think most people knew, but you don't know until you see it. You know, but you don't know. And then you're like, wow. And the way he pulled Seth out and Seth got the win that way, I thought that was kind of cool. A unique way of doing it. I hope that it still allows this chapter of Punk and Seth to actually close and we don't go back to this feud anytime soon again. And the whole Heyman, how did Heyman get in the ring thing? I don't, did they airlift him in, drop him down in the middle?
The walrus.
I think that's also interesting. That's one of the key dynamics to what's happening here is where does Heyman stand in this entire
favor?
Well, the favor.
The favor's not been called in yet from Survivor Series.
He also has respect and admiration for Punk, and Roman doesn't like that. You know, there's a bit of jealousy.
Punk and Roman is
there.
Also babyface. I guess Rollins is a babyface. You know how I feel about him. So it's a triple babyface feud. But Paul's acting is so good.
Yeah.
And when he was like in the cage, he was like comforting Punk as if Punk had been shot.
Yeah.
And then Roman sees it. The way they cut and do all these shots is so good. It's so much better now than it used to be. It's so planned.
Yeah.
But not like planned in an obvious way. And it's just like, it's so good. And then Roman comes in, and I was watching it today. Like when Roman got in, there was like a minute and change left in the show. The best part of the show was the last 1 minute. And it
That's
was so unique.
Yeah. They did a great job with that ending. Great job with the production. Production, you're right, is so good, especially just knowing what to focus on. I think that we are going into triple threat territory at WrestleMania.
Like, but why though? Like, it doesn't. I really, really, really hope not, because it just, and we could debate this all day, and people can have their theories or whatever, or their opinions. Like, the fact is, Roman Reigns and CM Punk are A-level superstars, and you could even say that Seth is A minus, but he's just a B player, and it doesn't matter. Maybe in the past Seth was more over. He's had more WrestleMania main events when they had a thinner roster under Vince, whatever you want to call it. Okay? Right now, there's Cody, Roman, and Punk, and they are the cream of the crop in terms of the superstars that are there. They're not The Rock. They're not Cena. They're not Brock Lesnar. Gunther is not up at that level. Braun is not up at that level. Rhea Ripley is not up at that level. It's those three. They get the biggest reactions. They're the most over. They're the superstars. They need to be in the main event. You insert Seth in there, and it deflates it. It's not as exciting.
My ideal scenario is to keep these feuds separate. Roman and Seth, a couple of weeks from now on Raw. CM Punk gets involved in that match. Maybe Seth goes over Roman with some shenanigans, and then it's Roman at Punk at Mania. That's what I think they need to do. And Seth has another dance partner down the line somewhere else. I don't know. But my hope is that they split these feuds up. So Roman and Seth, that gets resolved in a couple of weeks. Maybe they go back to it later.
Well, is Punk and Seth resolved? Could there be a tag match in the future? Could the final boss get involved?
I hope not. I hope they can just do what's best for business. And what's best for business is a headlining match between Punk and Roman.
Agreed. I would headline them on night 1 with Cody and Cena on night 2.
I know Seth is Triple H's boy, but you got to think about the bigger picture. And I hope that they can.
The way that they do it, though, and this is a blessing and a curse, and then we'll have to wrap this podcast up, is that I want to know what happens next. Like, it's so like, it's like this modern way of booking that's like, we all want to know what the WrestleMania matches are, but they keep holding them from us because the feuds keep getting more and more complicated. Io Sky wins the title. Like, what? Now Braun is facing Finn Balor next week. Is there going to be a return to Braun AJ? Like, all of these things are just there. It makes you be like, do they know what they're doing? But like, ultimately it all comes back together. And now I'm just like, I find myself rooting for the booking almost more than I'm rooting for watching the story. And I care more that Punk faces Roman and that's the main event, I guess, than I maybe necessarily do how the story unfolds, which is a very modern perspective of consuming wrestling, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's end it on that note. We're going to get nowhere else.
We'll report on Raw from Brussels next week. A couple of matches. We got Cena and Cody in the same building. Braun, Finn, Ludwig, Penta, and Jay versus Austin Theory. I'll be nice to see Braun again. Jesse, always a pleasure to chat with you.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. Talk to you later.
See you guys.